Alcohol Beyond This Point podcast.
This isn't two podcasters talking business. This is two business guys trying to podcast.
Can we start again? Hi, my name is Willows.
And my name isn't.
Okay, and this is
Alcohol Beyond This Point podcast.
just Alcohol Beyond This Point, I think. But
Sorry.
it's also...
But it is a podcast.
It is a podcast, yeah.
Yeah.
And this is the podcast business, and we're drunk.
Business, drinking, talk about it.
Agreed. How's your day going?
Well, I'm drinking Bush, so
We love
it must have
Bush.
been good.
Here's some Bush ASMR.
That one's for the boys, just like Saturdays.
Cheers.
Thank you. Oh, okay, you're just... All right.
Thirsty?
We haven't shotgunned anything on this podcast yet.
Oh, yeah, because I don't want to get the studio,
Moist.
sticky. We could shotgun something. That'd be fun.
I don't know how good the ASMR is on that, though.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd love to do a live, a Twitch stream and do a donation for us to if they donate $50, we just shotgun the closest thing to us.
Just get belligerent.
Yeah, well, yeah. If we're doing a fucking podcast live stream, we're obviously gonna get belligerent.
Yeah. Well, yeah. All right.
So, what's on your mind today? I got a couple topics. Unless we want to do some intros, some sum up our weeks.
Not much, honestly. It's been a really, I guess, comfortable grind.
You
last couple
skipped
weeks.
last week.
Yeah.
I was very mad.
Yeah.
That's the first time that you've skipped a podcast successfully. You've tried to skip them many times, and I've been able to talk you out of it.
That's true.
But I wasn't able to talk you out of this one. Can you explain to the audience why?
Because
Because you're a fucker! Just kidding.
well, I've been out every weekend for the last month or so. Just camping or whatever. There's always been something. This last weekend was camping for 2 days. Camping for 3 days plus wedding, all in one weekend.
Well,
so.
it's a good thing we fucking record on a weekend then.
Right, but then that leaves so the entire weekend is gone. So everything that I need to get done on a weekly basis all gets crammed into Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And Tuesday and Wednesdays are write-offs because of mastermind and our podcast night, obviously. And then I also have to fit in grocery shopping, cleaning up from the last weekend,
Instacart,
cleaning
girlfriend,
the house.
girlfriend.
She works just as much as I do.
I don't give a shit.
And then,
That's what a girl's for.
oh my god.
If you're watching the video version of this podcast on Alcohol Beyond
You
This
kill
Point,
me inside. Every fucking week, I die a little bit more. You die from alcoholism. I die from Willows.
I don't understand what you're trying to say.
I mean, you make life sound like an obligation for pussies.
I don't know what you're trying to say there.
I'm trying to
I
say.
just say that women have gender roles, and I think they should clean my house, and I should drink bourbon.
Oh.
Don't cut that out. I'm obviously being sarcastic. Please don't
Hyperbolic,
cancel me.
are you? Are you really? I think this is great.
I think I am.
I think it's a good soundbite. Somebody should put that on.
It's
on
fine.
Twitter.
I constantly say problematic stuff that I'm obviously being sarcastic.
Obviously.
Well, okay. To be fair, I'm usually being sarcastic,
God,
but
I forgot how gross Bush is.
it's not a great beer.
I'm hating every sip of this.
Hey, you accepted when I offered it to you, so
It's beer. It's fine. I'll drink
that's
it.
fine. What was the point? I don't remember. You just get your girlfriend to clean the house and come do a podcast, you fucking loser.
No.
What? Okay, Ben Shapiro says that you can cut me off right when I start a sentence by saying Ben Shapiro says.
No, I want to hear this.
Ben Shapiro says women are for clean and men are for wood.
Yeah, except the only wood Shapiro has ever seen is
Is that video of
the
him
other.
at Home Depot? Do you see that video?
Yeah, that one, that one wood, and also the college locker room's the only other time he's seen wood.
Ooh, no, he went to a private college. So he probably got a little cubicle to change.
Yeah, he probably would have been that guy that changed in the stall inside the change room.
Yeah, yeah.
That's for sure. Yeah,
Mhm.
and showered like by himself.
That's what I do.
Why?
How many people are you fitting in my shower? I don't know. I never went
Not your shower. I'm talking about.
I didn't go to college. What the fuck are you talking about?
Never mind.
Anyway, let's. I have
Shapiro's an incel. We all know it.
a couple. I love Ben Shapiro. If you want to get on the show, hit me up.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
But let's just say, hypothetically, I see through the lies of the Jedi. Okay. I have a couple business topics if we want to start off our business podcast.
Okay.
So, I was scrolling Instagram as I do, and I noticed a Forbes article
I love Warbies.
that Rhianna of Rhianna fame is now a billionaire. She, I guess you have to disclose how many shares of companies you own, like on a quarterly basis or something.
Right.
And she just disclosed the amount of shares she owns in her makeup brand,
Okay.
Fenty or whatever. And yeah, that puts her net worth at like 1.6 billion or something, 1.3 billion, 1.6 billion.
Wow.
Which makes her the second richest female entertainer behind Oprah.
That's wild.
Yeah, wild. So, but they broke it down. It's like less than 5% of her net worth was from music royalties. It's like 500 million is her makeup, and like 300 million is her lingerie brand. Fun fact.
Yeah, I guess.
And then just other investments and everything.
I guess now you don't get to monetize your music the same way you used to. Obviously, everybody knows that, but
Yeah. People aren't.
But her brand is just way bigger than it ever could have been.
Yeah.
In the days of vinyl, because in the days of vinyl, it would just be like, oh, I know Rihanna because of the song. Now it's like, oh, now I know Rihanna the person and everything that she's about and her
Because
fashion.
I follow her on Instagram, right?
Yeah, I know her fashion. I know her face. I know her outfits. I know her whatever.
Yeah. So
That's
I
crazy.
So I thought that was cool, and then it just got me thinking about like Post Malone. We had Post Malone's Wine on this podcast last week, and I was thinking about like Jay-Z having a crazy amount of his net worth in art.
Yeah.
And no one told me this. I just found this out the other day. This happened like 2 months ago. Jay-Z sold Tidal to fucking Jack Dorsey. Jay-Z sold Tidal to fucking Jack Dorsey of Twitter fame for $300 million.
Yeah.
Do you know anyone that uses Tidal?
No.
Me neither.
I'd never heard of it until you mentioned that.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so it was a streaming service he co-owned, I think, with like Kanye West had stock in it or something. Don't quote me on that one, but he was trying to get people to come over to it by the new Beyonce, that Lemonade record, was an exclusive to Tidal.
Okay.
And you couldn't get any of Jay-Z's discography on Spotify because he was trying to get people over to Tidal. And
it just hurt them.
I didn't work, and then they like released his entire discography on Spotify, and they're like, okay, and just, I guess sold the company and dumped it.
Yeah.
But I don't know why the fuck Twitter wants, or I think Square actually bought it. Like Square was the one that put up the shares to buy it or whatever. I don't know if it's more of the technology, not the brand. You know what I mean? Like I don't know if there's
these days companies sell just as easily on user data as anything else.
That's interesting. I don't know how many people. Maybe it's like super popular in Ethiopia or something, right? Like
maybe it's got secondary market potential.
But I don't know a fucking soul that uses Tidal. I never even heard of anyone using it.
Yeah.
Every time I hear in the news, I'm like, oh yeah, Tidal exists. Like
yeah.
So like I don't know. Yeah. So, but okay. But my topic I want to talk about is that like celebrities and I guess musicians, but like celebrities more so, like monetizing. Oh, okay, perfect. My argument here. Shaq.
Right.
I rest my case. So apparently,
agreed.
Like 80% of basketball players are broke within 5 years of stopping to play professionally.
I think athletes in general, but yeah.
Okay. And Shaquille O'Neal's worth like close to $1 billion now.
Yeah.
He owns the streaming rights to like Michael Jackson. Like anytime someone plays a Michael Jackson song, he gets paid.
Yeah.
He owns 155 locations of Five Guys Burgers.
Yep.
He owns like 200 car washes. Owns a bunch of gyms. He's had movies, TV shows, fucking Shaq Fu, the fucking like Sega Genesis video game, like.
Yeah.
And I was listening to an interview with him just on like TikTok of he came up with this like investing plan because he like sold his likeness to a company, like 50% of his likeness or whatever to this company for like a bunch of cash. And then he was like thinking, he's like, wait, they can monetize. And then so he ended up like buying the company that bought him.
Oh, damn. Okay.
And then started doing it to other celebrities and like buying their likenesses.
Huh.
Yeah. Which is an interesting phenomenon of like you don't even own yourself as a celebrity.
Yeah, you don't own your name.
Yeah, like there was I won't say his name because I don't want to give him any press, but there was a radio DJ here in Winnipeg that said some very problematic transphobic things on the air and then lost his platform and like tried to make a podcast or whatever, and he like couldn't use his own name because the radio station still owned his name technically.
Yeah, for like probably at least a period of time.
Yeah, which is interesting.
Yeah. Because they spent all the money on advertising his name on billboards and whatever.
And that's like there's a bunch of celebrities that like they can't put their old, or like musicians I listen to, like rappers that can't put their old music on Spotify because like I don't own the masters.
Well, it's like what Taylor Swift went through.
Yeah, and I know like Russ always, the rapper always preaches like own your fucking masters. Like that should be your negotiation. They're trying to give you an extra bonus. Be like, no, take away the signing bonus. I want rights to my masters.
Right.
And then you own the song forever.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's just, that's an interesting thing. So what do you think about like, do you think people now are like going to try and get famous by like trying to sing just so they can like branch off and then become, diversify their portfolio? Do you think that's like a realistic business plan?
I think people are, I don't know, it's kind of a strange question because I think people pursue fame and for whatever means and reasons, but just kind of assume that they're going to get rich off of it and don't really think about how. I feel like it's just like the pursuit of fame because it'll make you well known and rich.
What do you think the same reason that
it's kind of the same thing? They're kind of ubiquitous together, right? It's just slightly changing how people do that, and it seems to be getting to be more in control by the artist and less by the studio makes all the money or the producer makes all the money, and now it's going back to the artist in a more honest way. It's kind of what it seems like to me.
Do you think celebrities are traitors to their class?
Traitors to their class. What do you mean by that?
Like, should we eat them just like we eat the landlords?
That's a hard one because
a lot of these people,
because the general public like willingly, generously platforms them and gives them their money.
Yeah, but the general public willingly buys stuff on Amazon.
Yeah, but not because they're buying Jeff Bezos. They're buying Amazon stuff because it's affordable and convenient. They're not buying it because it's Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
You bought the Post Malone wine not because it was like great wine at a convenient price.
I bought it because it was Post Malone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think there's a big difference. I don't think you can really hate on a brand as much as
you can hate on an individual.
Like, I'm not saying you can't. You absolutely
you can do whatever you want.
You can absolutely do whatever you want. No, I'm saying that people won't because you're kind of opting into it. You're supporting that person willingly, and you know exactly what and who you're supporting. Like it feels pretty transparent to me. You can't
until you find out that like 19 people write their songs and like.
Yeah, but I don't know. People fucking love them anyways. That's pretty general knowledge.
What do you think of this DaBaby debacle?
The what? Oh, DaBaby, yeah.
The baby, and then spelled debacle the same way.
The baby debacle.
That's what I would title a YouTube video if I made it.
The baby debacle.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just saying if Lil Nas has the right to be gay, have the right to be a homophobic asshole.
That was basically his
Like,
backup was.
What in the hell?
Yeah, for context, if you don't know, DaBaby is a popular hip-hop artist, and he got on stage at Rolling Loud, which is one of the largest hip-hop festivals in the world, and he basically said, like, if you don't butt-fuck guys and have AIDS, put your hands up, and shit like that, like, and it was like this whole weird homophobic
like
thing.
Stage rant
for like no reason. And I triggered okay. I triggered the fucking Google on my watch.
Oh no.
Okay. And then people were like, "Hey, that's homophobic." He doubled down and basically said, if Lil Nas X, who is a homosexual rapper, can be gay, then I have the right to be homophobic, is essentially what he was saying. He's like, I was raised like this, it's okay. And then he got like dumped off a bunch of Lollapalooza, just was like, nope, you're fucked, get off my stage. I canceled them. And then I saw a really funny tweet today that was like, we can't, because like some people you can separate the art from the artist.
Yeah.
I think like a good example is like Chris Brown.
Right.
Everyone knows he's a piece of shit. He's beating the shit out of Rhianna and a bunch of presumably other girls, allegedly. And or I think he was charged for like convicted for that, right? But whatever. But people still love his music, right? He comes up with a new song, fucking people listen to it. No one gives a shit. But DaBaby's like getting canceled, and I saw like people were having trouble separating the art from the artist because his art isn't that good or something. It's like his art isn't good enough to separate.
That's I mean, not to say that Chris Brown didn't suffer greatly from whatever happened. Like, I'm sure his music and everything took a big dive, at least initially, and I think eventually he kind of fought his way back through merit of music. But I mean, DaBaby could do the same. He could write really good shit and come back, for all we know.
Yeah, who knows?
This is like, it just happened, so who knows?
Tune in next week for the DaBaby updates. But like another great example is Kevin Spacey.
Yeah,
I think is one of the best actors. Like, but am I watching like Seven being like, this guy's raped children? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'm able to at least personally separate the art from the artist. Also, I don't think he's like getting paid much for me Netflix streaming a movie he was in 40 years ago. Maybe he is, but
yeah.
But Bill Cosby's on tour right now.
Yeah.
He's out of fucking jail and he's on tour. Like, and people are seeing him, presumably, right? Like,
yeah, that's kind of crazy. Just straight out of jail, right onto tour.
Well, because he's technically a free man, because he wasn't just released from jail. The charges were like overturned by a judge and like erased, and technically he's a innocent man.
Right.
Yeah. Even though like 90 women were like, hey, it's fine.
Yeah, I guess it's fine then.
Yeah, I guess he's an innocent man, so
yeah,
we have nothing to say.
Yep.
He's a provenly innocent man. Everything we would have to say is alleged. So
allegedly innocent.
Yeah. That's a good like punk band name. Allegedly innocent.
Allegedly innocent.
Did you see the this is our pop culture
episode
part of the podcast? You see they kicked the drummer of The Offspring out of the band because he won't get vaccinated.
No, I did not.
Yeah, it's pretty. Oh, because the lead singer of The Offspring has like a PhD. He invented like an HIV cure. Like he's done like he did like a fucking doctorate on like HIV vaccines and stuff, and like made a cure for symptoms.
Like a treatment.
Yeah, whatever. But like he's like one of the smartest people in the world, but he's just like happens to front a punk band. Like, yeah. And then so his drummer wouldn't get vaccinated. He's like, get the fuck out of the band. Like,
that's crazy. Yeah. Not even just for you're an idiot, but also that would really, if you're a big band that travels, that's going to mean that guy can't travel anyways.
Yeah, that's actually a good point.
Unable to perform his duties.
I saw today that Biden is signing a thing that's they're not going to let anyone who's not vaccinated into America, like at all.
Like in as in immigrant or as in traveler?
Both.
Hmm.
Those have to be double vaxxed if you want to.
I mean, that's pretty strong words for a country that's like doing almost nothing to help other countries become vaccinated.
I don't know. Reddit. Yeah.
No, I get. No, I believe it 100%. It's just, it's one of those issues that's just it's becoming more stark with just global disparities, right? It's a prime example of global disparity. Like you have yahoos at throwing massive protests saying we don't want to take the vaccine, and then buddy in Somalia is watching this. He's like, oh my god, I want this vaccine. And
Yeah.
he's watching the news, seeing all these people being like, you don't have to make me take this, you're infringing on my liberties. And
People with
everyone just hates America right now, and I think it's
I-
justified.
Yeah, I saw. I retweeted a tweet at the beginning of the pandemic. Someone was like, "The rest of the world is like we're proving to the rest of the world that America's like idiots or something." And I retweeted it. I'm like, "Oh, like you just think now you're a laughing stock? Like the global community has been laughing at America for 20 years, 30 years. Like the heyday of America being the best country in the world is far removed."
Well, we talked about this on the mastermind call of how the only thing America's got going for it is it's got the most
Consumers.
it's got the best, biggest, fattest consumers in the world, and that's not going to change anytime soon. So the economy is just how much do they consume, and how much does their dollar allow them to consume, and how much power does that
Yeah,
give
because
them?
realistically, right now, if you want to trade globally, you have to trade to America
Right. Well, for now.
for now. But China's poised to pass them.
time.
Like,
Yeah, really quickly.
yeah. What do you think of like what is our duty as individuals, consumers, and business owners? Like, me and you both consume things, and we also produce things.
Right.
Do we have a duty to like? I don't want my country going under, so I'm only going to buy Canadian-made stuff.
I don't think it's realistic to try.
I agree.
I don't think it's possible.
I buy local when possible.
Right. You support local when possible, but that is usually, even if you go to a local retailer, odds are their products are based overseas.
Yeah.
Even if the retailer's here.
Yeah, well, the mics that we're talking on are probably made in China or Japan,
Yeah.
and the mic stands are definitely China. This table's it's really old. Might be Canadian, but probably China or Europe.
Yeah, it might be Canadian or American made. Like I've got a really nice like marble coffee table at home, and I'm like, wow, this thing looks super nice and expensive. Like it was a really, really high price tag on it, and I was crawling around underneath it yesterday or the other day, and I just see like made in Taiwan. And
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, they just slapped this thing together, I guess, for super cheap and just shipped it overseas. I'm like, not even fucking high-end marble furniture is safe.
Well, I have $1,000 suits that are like made in Bangladesh.
Well, I'm just thinking, like, in terms of you're paying $3,000 for a table, you assume you're paying that $3,000 because it was made
Here.
here.
Palliser Furniture made it.
Right.
So it's because we have to pay $20 an hour. So
And that table was for sale for about $3,000 from a local retailer
who bought it and then resold it?
who bought it from like a West Coast furniture design shop, which shipped them over from China. Like,
Yeah, which is interesting.
sure, the Canadian business made money, but also the import-export business made money, but also the manufacturer made money, plus the quarry that pulled up that marble, plus whatever. Like, it's globalized economy. It's just not feasible to censor your consumerism. Like,
And are you okay with that?
I don't think it matters if I am or
No,
not.
I'm asking your opinion.
Yeah, like in general, I'm fine because I think a globalized economy is fucking necessary. Like, look at the complexity of the goods we consume. It's just not possible to have that come from one place.
Yeah, I agree. I like the global economy. I'm idealistically like no borders, honestly. Like I don't give a fuck about
Right.
national pride. I don't care about like how I think of it is like why is my dollar, why would I rather support a Canadian family than what's the difference functionally between a Canadian family and a Chinese family if I'm feeding somebody?
besides racist reasons,
Well,
not much.
what do you mean? I don't. Okay, well, I didn't mean it like
Like,
that. I meant like.
no, I know what you're saying. I'm saying like besides a prejudice justification, there's really not, or besides a nationalist explanation, there's really no.
Well, because I think
difference.
most nationalism is racism, just in
Yeah,
packaged differently.
It's ethno-nationalism. It's not racism.
Yeah, it's just ethno-nationalism. We just want white people.
Yeah, we want democracy for white Christians. That's all.
Well, my
And the rest of you can also have democracy, but over there.
one of the brewery owners here in Winnipeg was bartending one time, and there had a couple guys at the bar that were getting tipsy, and they were just talking about immigrants or whatever, right? And being like, fucking immigrants, like,
Oh no.
all this shit. And he, you know who I'm talking about, is an Irish man.
Yeah.
And he's bartending, and he's an Irish man, and he has a very heavy Irish accent.
Oh,
And he
God.
basically goes to these guys like, well, I'm a fucking immigrant. You couldn't be here right now in this business. And they said, no, not those kind of immigrants.
Right.
Right?
Not the ones that
Yeah.
not the ones that look like us.
Yeah, so it's not, we need to have strong border control, because like what probably if this man was sober, he would have been like, no, I'm not racist. I just think we should have strong border control. We should have jobs for Canadians.
Yeah.
And take care of our homeless and our poor before we start bringing in immigrants, right? That's like probably his sober talking point.
Right.
But then drunk was, oh no, I didn't mean white immigrant. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
because
so
that's what that's the he's saying the quiet thing loudly.
yeah, and that's what I think a lot of anti-immigration, strong border policies, I think are just veiled racism.
It's usually it's very thinly veiled racism, and it's just policies based on how do you scare white people, like Mexican caravans.
What the fuck was that about?
It was bloody amazing. Where did he come up with that?
It wasn't a Mexican caravan. It was like a Honduras caravan.
Yeah, but through Mexico.
Yeah. It was like, what was that? Was it even real?
No, not remotely. You good?
Yeah, if you were watching the video version of this podcast on youtube.com/votewillows, you can see that I just spilled a bunch of beer on my shirt.
It's great.
It's fine. I swear to God, I'm not drunk. I've had one 355 ml beer and like 2 shots of bourbon today. It was a long day.
Oh God, that beer's gross. Ugh, I can't get over it. Like, I drink so many different kinds of beers. I'll flip like from a pale ale to a fucking pilsner to a sour beer to a radler to a stout, and like I'll drink Corona, I'll drink like Michelob, I'll drink fucking Budweiser, but this tastes like shit.
Yeah, shout out, we're not going to get a sponsorship. Shout out Labatt Brewing Company, Bush and Beer.
Like it just has like a bitter taste like in the back of your
It
mouth.
tastes like Budweiser to me. They taste very similar.
It's worse, I think.
Okay, that's bold, but if you know me, I don't drink much macro beer. I drink almost exclusively craft beer and almost exclusively local craft beer. Excuse me, but
Because when you buy local craft beer, you're supporting the Manitoba government.
wait. This is the macro beer that my roommate drinks, and I drank a bunch of her beer the other day.
Yeah.
So I bought her like an 8-pack to pay her back, but then she's like, "Oh, you only drank like 6 of my beers," so I took 2 of them for myself, and now we're drinking them on the podcast.
I like it.
So it's fine. Yeah, I think like I don't like Alex Jones and company always like QAnon. They always use globalism as like a scare word.
Right.
Like the globalists want this. Why? Why is that bad? Like I don't understand.
Well, because I want to control everybody and put chips in your penis via vaccine.
But like I don't get why why is globalism bad?
I had this conversation with my dad where he's, because, conservative Christian, he's talking about how, this is going to bring on the one world government and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, isn't that a good thing? I'm like, because that, like, if that's true, let's say the prophecies of the Bible are coming true, of the prophecies of Revelations, and this is, the one world government and the Antichrist and all that shit. I'm like, isn't that a good thing? Because that means, like, Christ is coming back, and therefore you're going to go to heaven and be vindicated of everything that you've stood for your entire life.
Okay,
I'm like,
well-
that's good news.
Okay, well, I don't really care
That's
about
good news.
I don't
Like,
care about the religious argument to it, but
no, it's a lot of it is religious though. A lot of it is kind of around that idea. The globalist and globalism is a direct. It's like a trigger word for Christian Americans.
okay, but surely there's a
There's a non
Christian argument for why
but
globalism's bad.
but I'm saying like the words are so similar, and I think that's probably where that's on purpose, and that's partly why it's like a trigger word. So even if you're not a Christian, you probably grew up hearing the stories of Revelations, and most Americans grew up like with some form of Sunday school or church or TV preacher or whatever.
Even I did.
And they're talking end times, and those are that's the language they use about end times. So the second they say a globalized economy,
The Bible talks about a globalized economy.
no, as soon as you have a politician talk about globalized economy, the back of your brain defaults to, oh shit, the world's gonna end.
Why? I'm
Doesn't matter.
completely lost.
It doesn't matter why. Like it's like loose associations. Like that's how politics work. They use like fucking trigger words of loose associations to get you from one conclusion to their mission,
Sure.
right? That's how you make a successful speech. It's like, oh, this is like that. Just kind of, and then yada yada yada, vote for me.
Well, I always, what is it, like the banker takes, like there's 100 cookies on the table and the banker eats 100 of or 99 of them, and then tells the middle class guy, watch out, the immigrant's gonna steal your cookie.
Yeah.
Like
Basically.
right. There's a George Carlin bit where he said like the upper classes makes all the money, does none of the work. The middle class does all the work, pays all of the taxes. And the lower class is there just to scare the shit out of the middle class. Keep them showing up at those jobs.
Basically. That's an Orwellian concept.
Yeah. Where they I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I feel like the more I was kind of talking about this yesterday, the more I'm learning about the world and getting older, the more I'm just feel like I should focus on myself and my loved ones and not give a shit about trying to make the world a better place.
Yeah,
because-
we're talking about this is back to the nihilism, right?
Yeah.
The cheerful nihilism of
nothing matters,
it's all
therefore I
fucked.
can do whatever I want.
yeah, and it's all fucked, therefore might as well send it.
Well, because I feel like I'm not going to change anything, right? Like, I don't think any politician has made any good changes. Like,
I think one of the best arguments I ever heard that just kind of set my mind in that way was the book by, what's it called? The guy that owns BlackRock Capital.
I don't know.
Fuck, he's only ever written one book, and he says he's only ever going to write one. Okay, so Ray Dalio, founder of Bridgewater Associates, one of the biggest hedge funds in the world, wrote in his book, he's like, obviously he's a billionaire, controls, and more so than his net worth,
Yeah, assets under management. Very high.
and the ability for him personally to allocate those assets in a way to like literally move markets and move the world. Because when they got to a certain size, they had to start factoring in how big their purchases were and like people watching them.
Yeah, because you flood the market as soon as you purchase something.
Not
like,
even flooding the market. It's every
people
time
see the trends.
every time they made a trade, they'd make a ripple.
Yeah.
So they had to add the ripple effect into their algorithms at a certain point because they got so massive.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, he talked about how futile and how tiny his entire life was.
Okay.
And he's like, I'm an infinitesimal part of the human experience. He's like, I'm one person out of 7 billion. I control, this and this much money, but in the context of 100 years, I only hold it for this short amount of time. And like, I don't know, he goes into it for pages and pages. And I'm like, if this guy at world shifting billionaire level says I have no impact.
Mm-hmm.
I can make no meaningful or lasting change.
Yeah.
And he's like, not even my legacy will be remembered in 100 years. And I'm like, fuck me. What can I hope to do?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I guess whatever I want.
Yeah, and that's the whole concept of like cheerful nihilism, as like I don't know if I like to call it that or that's what it's called, but
It's a I think it's a healthy way to look at life for a billionaire, because I think too many get to that point, and like we're talking about Jack Dorsey with his, giant beard,
Gandalf beard, and he's
Gandalf
trying to save the world.
Yeah, so that's, thoughts of grandiosity, where that maybe will get you into trouble.
I don't have delusions of grandeur. I have actual grandeur.
Exactly. That's where it begins.
But like I think I am God.
It's possible.
You look back at him floating. It's fine.
I look back and we're in Mexico.
We've just been drunk.
We never left the patio.
It's fine. I wish.
Yeah.
No, I think that is a healthy way for a billionaire, because like, yeah, I think you're right. They maybe turn into Elon Musk and want to start putting us all on Mars.
I think Elon Musk is just like genuinely has like a panicky need to get this done. I don't think he's like, I'm powerful, therefore I'm going to do it. He's like, I'm literally the only guy that can do this, so I better get to it.
Yeah.
And he's probably right.
But do you think that's like? Do you think like what's his name you were just talking about, the Bridgewater guy,
Dalio,
saying that? Do you think that people look at that and go, "Oh shit"? Like if he's saying that, then fucking the world is hopeless. Like, because then what am I supposed to do?
I think that's why most people don't say that.
Why?
Because it's not what people want to hear.
Okay.
And like most people that write books are writing for an audience, right?
Yeah.
When the premise of him writing this book was he's like, I've had a significant life, and I think it's important for me to write down the principles of the life that I've lived.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the first and last book I'm ever going to write, because I think this sums up everything that you need to know about my life.
Which is essentially what we do this podcast for, is to document our principles and our mentality behind.
Yeah, he's like, everything else would be fluff or self-promotion.
Yeah.
And he's like, that's not what I want out of this. I'm just going to put out this book and be done with it.
Okay.
And so he wasn't writing that book for anyone, really.
To be a top Amazon bestseller.
Yeah. Which, I mean, inevitably it was because of who he is. But I think that's really key to that way of thinking. I don't know. I guess I just value it a lot more, because it doesn't seem like there's an ulterior or like secondary motive to him saying anything in that book.
That's interesting. Yeah. Which then you could definitely see a lot of successful people go on to like write a book or star in a movie just to basically blow themselves, like to just
literally.
It's self-aggrandizement, it's self-flagellation.
We love flagellation.
Only when I do it to other people. Anyway, but there's I think like you said, like I would respect somebody who isn't doing it for that reason. Like they're not just trying to, I want to be a published author. That's why I would write a book. Is to blow myself. Yeah, basically.
But you wouldn't respect it.
But I don't give a fuck. I don't need people to respect me.
Then why would you write a book?
Fun.
I don't think it's that fun.
Why do I do anything? Life is pain.
Compulsion.
Life is pain, and it'll end when I die.
Yeah, we also talked about this yesterday, the idea of we're just in like a manic pursuit of the need to just like get anything done.
Mm-hmm.
And
oh yeah, what did who said that?
Me.
Was that you that said like you were talking to somebody who was like?
Yeah, that was me.
Oh yeah. Tell that without saying names. That was that was a really good.
I'm pretty sure
I don't think I've never heard it before. So.
Okay, all right. So this is a this is an existing story within a story that I've told before, but last time I was on acid, I was sitting with several other people on the same said acid, allegedly, and we got into the conversation of like how's your life going in terms of career, work, whatever. And I knew that these people I was talking to were, they had no career prospects, really. They had no...
older than you, and they don't have any...
Yeah, right. Older than me, no career prospects, no ambitions, no like hard or soft skills to speak of, like just basically happy to make a surviving wage. And beyond that, their personal life just kind of revolved around, having a couple friends, getting drunk, getting high, like getting through the next week, and just, very simple, streamlined, low stress kind of life, aside from personal dramas and whatever. So I was talking about how I was excited about whatever was going to happen, and they're like, that sounds like so scary. That sounds so stressful. I'm like, no, it's not scary to me. I said, not doing this and not pursuing these things is like the scariest thing I've done. I'm like, the one time I was sitting still and I had no plans. I had nothing to look forward to. I said, it's the most scared I've ever been. It's almost paralyzing just sitting there. It's like, I don't have a business. I don't have prospects. I don't have, like, I've got all these things I've learned, but like, where am I going? I've accomplished nothing. Like, that's when I start to panic.
Yeah. The fact that you weren't working
was
in a stressful environment was
incredibly stressful.
And
a no stress, easygoing day is sometimes hell.
Yeah, I agree with you. You said that to me yesterday, and it was like, huh.
I was at a family function the other day, and I was fucking miserable. And I just, like, I opened my phone, and I'm like, I don't get a lot of work emails anymore, obviously.
Yeah.
I had a work email, and I'm like, sick. I immediately started working on it at like 9 p.m. half cut at this family function, and it was like I just dove into the work, and I'm like, this is awesome. And I'm like, I would rather be working at work right now.
Yeah, and that's I think putting a lot of my feelings into words. What you just said is that like I feel the exact same way. I feel like if you were listening to this podcast 10 or so episodes ago when we were at the beginning of the pandemic, or like the second lockdown, and I was like not doing anything.
Yeah.
I was like fucking stressed. Like, I'm like, this is it. Like,
yeah. So I was telling this to this person, and they're like, well, what stresses me out is the idea of having to learn all these complex skills, having to read books, having to compete in in some corporate environment where I have to fight for promotions or negotiate for higher wages and everything that comes with that. And they're like, that scares the shit out of me. And it stresses me out to the point where I don't even want to try. And we just kind of sat there looking at each other, and we're like, we're both the same amount of scared and nervous. It's just, and we both have pretty much the same tolerance for it, except my fears set me up for a successful, happy life in this society, and their fears set them up for misery and suffering, really.
Yeah.
Because if you don't do those things, you're not going to have a comfortable or happy life. Not really.
Not
You'll
not
have to,
the same way.
Not in the same way. Like, you'll have to compromise. You can, not saying you can't be happy if you don't make money, but if you don't make any money and you're on like government assisted living and government housing, and you're kind of scraping off the bottom off of subsistence, like, not many people out there can really claim they're super pumped about a subsistence living.
Yeah, of course.
In a first world country.
Yeah, of course.
Like, at least from the people that I've spoken to.
Yeah,
like, yes, dude in the woods in a cabin, subsisting off the land, he's having a heck of a good time.
Yeah.
But that's more of someone like me than
yeah, I saw some clip
like them.
I saw some clip the other day that was like some guy was like he's like lives on the land in this cabin that's like, and whatever. And then the interviewer was like, "What's a good day to you?" He's like, "A good day is when nobody shows up."
Yeah.
He's like, "I don't have a phone, don't have internet. I get up when the sun wakes me up, and I go to bed when it's too dark to read anymore."
Yeah.
And then he's like, yeah, what's a good day? He's like, a good day is when nobody shows up. It's so
Yeah.
funny.
And he was like running a business, wasn't he?
I just saw like a TikTok clip. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't remember.
I think the guy's like running like a lodge, or like he's like out in the woods and has like some kind of business, and they're like, oh, what's a good day? He's like, when I have no customers.
Yeah. But yeah, but that's different than, well, I've been fucking broke.
Yeah.
Like, I've been homeless, I've been broke. Sucks. Right?
Sure,
like
dude.
I've had my parents pay all my bills. Feels bad
Yep.
as an adult, right? Like, it's like, yeah, I don't know. It's but like, is there, like, we can blame capitalist society till the fucking
Cows come home.
cows come home, but you know, has it ever been any different for any human 5,000 years ago?
I don't think it's ever been better.
Right now? Oh, no, never. That's a different argument. What I mean is, like, this same kind of person 5,000 years ago is sitting in a cave going, well, I don't want to go hunt and gather. Like, it makes me, I'm scared of fucking antelope.
Right.
And I'm scared of taking a poisonous berry.
Right.
So I'm just more comfortable if I don't do that. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like there's always people that didn't, but you had to, and you would die if you didn't.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, no, I don't think it's something that ever was possible. It's more possible today than ever, which is probably why there's more people like that than
What
ever.
is, to just do nothing?
To be in that direction, yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's increasingly more possible as society advances.
You could consider me a right-wing person. I think many people would.
Yeah.
But I don't personally, but I'm sure you could consider me one. And those kind of people don't piss me off at all.
No, me neither.
Right? Like,
No,
but
not at all.
because I feel like all my conservative people I know are so mad when someone like wants, well, goes on welfare and wants UBI, and they're so personally offended.
Yeah.
Like, I fucking worked so hard to get through university, so if you get a free university, it's like, shut the fuck up. Like, what are you talking about?
It's like, do you regret putting in the work?
Well, you know what it is? It's like the same as I struggled, so I'm going to make my kids struggle.
Right.
It's like, no, you don't want that. You want them to have the life you couldn't have. Like, I don't know. Like,
I don't even know how to explain that way of thinking.
it's just selfishness. It's like, I had to work for university tuition, so everyone else has to. I went through it, so it's not fair. It's a fucking toddler
Right.
being like,
Yeah, it's not fair. Yeah, that's
why-
basically what it
like, why does he get a good
Yeah.
toy and I don't?
Yeah, no, that's a good way to visualize. It's a screaming toddler
Yeah.
in a sandbox being
It's
like,
not
it's not
fair.
Yeah, that pretty much sums up a lot of that.
Like, I had to clean the sandbox, right? It was all dirty. Before I was allowed to play in it, I had to clean it all up. But then now my brother comes into it and he gets to play in it and he didn't have to fucking clean anything up. How's that fucking? So now I'm going to shit in the sandbox.
When you're done playing.
Exactly. To ruin it for him.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like now.
It's just so immature. Like, and the more I fucking hate people that are like complaining about like UBI's on the table now, like universal basic income's on the table again, and raising minimum wage and stuff. It's like, just get better skills. It's like, just fucking, like, I'm getting to the point where I'm just like, just fucking pay people money. Like, our UBI system, the one we propose, is going to be like $2,000 a month or something.
Yeah.
I'm like, do I want to make $2,000 a month? No. Like, I want to make $1 million a month. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't understand how you're mad at people
For getting what they need.
Yeah, like,
and what are they going to do with that $2,000 a month? They're going to spend it all. Where?
You know what? At my business.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
where they're gonna spend.
Be
it.
happy about it.
Like,
Be fucking happy.
oh man, people are so like I feel like in the last like year, my mentality has really changed on this. That I used to think liberals were the weakest, like socialist, communists that white communists that were born into middle class families in first world countries.
Yeah.
Were the weakest link. And don't get me wrong, they're still dumb. But now I think these fucking right-wing Trumpers are the weakest breed of human.
No, it is. Like, that's like most like school shooters and bombers and shit. It comes from the
Immigrants. Oh no, wait, they're all incels.
Oh yeah. Right,
Oh yeah.
no. It's the exceptionally average American.
Yeah.
That's who becomes the most dangerous.
Disproportionately white.
Yeah, buys into the right wing dream.
Right, buys into it's society's fault, not mine. But then liberals think that too.
No, I think the right wing dream is like, I should be rich, but I'm not. Therefore, it's not fair. Like, just anybody can pull themselves up by the bootstraps and become a billionaire. Like that message, but then they don't.
Oh, so they're losers.
And then they get mad.
Oh, I saw something today that was like, the only reason you're not confident is because you're not competent in anything.
Wow, way to just boost people up.
That's the only reason why.
That's fantastic.
Just get competent at something, you'll become more confident. Like,
I think that's partially true. For some types of confidence. But
yeah.
I wanted to mention a really amazing New York Times the podcast, the daily piece that was done day before yesterday, about, it was just interviews of employers, like various business owners of different kind of political views, and how they were dealing with labor shortages.
Yeah.
And also like high demand of their business, but also labor shortage at the same time. How much money they were losing, and so on, and what they thought of the people that used to work for them and now weren't coming back. And it was like 50-50, obviously, because of how they arranged the podcast, of people saying, you know what, fuck those people, they're lazy, like, I feel betrayed. This has been a family business for 100 years, and, I have this staff, I know their kids, I know their families' names, and they just, like, they don't want to come back, and now my business is suffering, I'm not making as much profit, because they don't want to come back to work.
Sucks to suck.
Right. So, that was, like, the one side, and then the other side was, he's like, yeah, no, I get it, like, I get why people don't want to come back to work, it's a lot of fucking work, it's really hard, and if you're making this much money on EI, like, why would you come to work for something you don't super love? He's like, so it gotta be compelling. He's like, I gotta pitch well, you gotta close fast, and like, he's like, whatever, you gotta fucking deal with it. And that was probably that was probably like the healthiest outlook on it. And then they interviewed the various employees, or former employees that were unemployed, were capable of working, but were choosing to not. And what I basically got out of that, it was mostly like hospitality and retail workers, where they just kind of talked about how, they had been working since they were, let's say, in high school. 16 years old, you get a job, you work at the mall, you work at some restaurant, you're working in the dish pit, you're working as a busboy, and that is your life through high school. And then you graduate, and then you immediately go into full-time work, and then maybe into part-time work, and then culinary school. And then you get out of culinary school, and then you go full-time. Now you're working like 70, 80 hours a week to work your way up in the restaurant. You're working like 11 a.m. till 2 a.m. You're working 6-7 days a week, because weekends is when it's busiest. You're filling in. Like, you're just grinding your fucking ass off. And this guy's talking about how he's like, my feet hurt. They're blistered all the time. He's like, I'm always covered in burns from chest down. All over my arms, oil burns. You pull hot meat off whatever the fryer, and it drips oil on you. He's like, so I constantly am covered in burn marks. And he's like, I'm always tired. He's like, I had bags under my eyes for like 7 years straight. And he's like, and then the fucking quarantine hits, and I'm forced to stop. He's like, I never would have stopped working willingly, but I was forced to stop. He's like, and when I stopped working, I rediscovered my love for cooking. He's like, I was starting to hate it. Like, I hated cooking the same food every day. I hated this fucking job. He's like, but it was the only thing. He's like, I knew I was passionate about food, and I thought I had to have this job because it's like, that's what's going to sustain me. But he's like, I make $3,000 a month for working 85 hours a week, and I have no time to cook for myself. He's like, I don't go for walks. I don't read books anymore. He's like, I don't take naps. I don't go out. He's like, I haven't even seen this entire fucking state I've been living in for the last 10 years. He's like, I don't know a single park around me until the pandemic hit. He's like, and now I've done all that. I've taken all this time for myself, and I've fallen in love with cooking again. He's like, why would I go back to the restaurant job? He's like, I'm going to go work for the United Postal Service work 40 hours a week, make close to the same money. I'll get union representation. I'll get health benefits. I'll get health insurance, and I'm gonna have a life again, and I can love cooking again because I'll have all this time and all this money to cook for myself. And he's like, that's how my fucking life is gonna go, because this rat race, this hamster wheel I was in before, it just made no sense. And I think what America is experiencing right now is in the retail and hospitality sectors. Those are the two that are really hurting for jobs. Most other places are doing okay. They're hurting because the jobs suck and they're underpaid.
Do you think it's both? Or do you think that, because like this, what you're describing, this like 70, 80 hour a week job, I know jobs like that.
It's pretty typical for hospitality.
Yeah, but those jobs will never really get better because that's just what the job is.
Exactly.
Right? But you could pay double. Would that make it worth it, do you think, for a lot of people? Or do you think there's still a disconnect?
I think it's, I was thinking about them, like, okay, what's the alternative? Well, first thought was robots.
Robots, yeah.
Second thought was, well, pay more. And the restaurant charges more.
But I guess, like, even if I'm paying double, that still doesn't give this man any free time.
Right, but it might make him more willing to pursue that because double the money now gives him whatever early retirement, more funny money later. You could take more time off.
Or maybe he could take one less shift a week.
Or maybe he takes off a week a month, works 80 hours a week, 3 weeks a month.
Sure.
Whatever it may be, like, that's one way to look at it.
Yeah.
Another way to look at it is like, okay, so the knock-on effect is you pay that guy more, restaurant increases its prices, people got to pay more to go out to restaurants, and it's kind of like a, God bless capitalism, it's kind of like a self-correcting thing where it will then again find the balance between how much you need to pay these people, how expensive is a restaurant.
Yeah, and the problem is when government starts getting involved in setting minimum wages and stuff, that's what fucks it all up. That's what fucks this fixing itself. It's because the federal minimum wage in the United States hasn't gone up from $7.25 in a decade.
Right.
If they just didn't have a minimum wage, the market would have corrected itself.
I think that's the wrong argument, because if you're saying if they didn't have a minimum wage, it would have corrected itself. Well,
I think so.
Why was the minimum wage relevant in the first place? Why wasn't the wage rising with the market? Why did it stay down so low?
I don't really know the history of the minimum wage. I know that when it was introduced, the president at the time had said the intention is this is how much the average American needs to raise a family.
Right.
So we're going to make it this amount.
Right. Now it's like a quarter of what
now
that
it's
number
like
is.
If it was scaled for inflation, minimum wage would be like $22 and it's like $7.
Right. So I don't think the lack of a minimum, I don't think no minimum wage is the answer. I think if you're going to have the structure of a minimum wage, it should have stayed on that equal pace.
But remember, inflation is a tax. Like, inflation is the government saying we're inflating our money. It's not, inflation isn't something that just happens. It's it's man-made.
Yeah.
Some economic scientists came up with inflation.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, and like the fact that like I just get government out of it. They're bad at it. They're bad at this. Get them out. Get them out of there.
Yeah, but you can't.
And then in private school,
are you talking about like philosophically what's the solution or what's the practical solution?
Practical solution is shoot Joe Biden in a video game
and everybody else.
All of them, execute them in Minecraft.
Well, if you could eliminate inflation and
minimum wage
and the global currency exchange market and the
replace with Ethereum
and the global economy, replace that
with Dogecoin. Yep.
With Dogecoin.
Yep.
And then also have no more minimum wage.
Yep.
Replace that with
nothing.
Diarrhea coin.
Okay, sure.
Like you can't disassemble it. It's inseparable from. Like it's too complicated.
That's what oppressors like you
Nobody
like to
fucking know.
That's what oppressors like you like to say to me. Oh no, it's too big to fail. It's too complicated.
I'm not saying it's too big to fail. I'm saying it's too big to fix.
You can't exactly. You can't just defund the police. You can't just give people a living wage. You are so negative. I think we can do whatever we want. We can disassemble the government.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Okay, let's go.
You should listen to the podcast. I guess not podcast. It's a book. It's an audiobook releases podcast after the Revolution.
Okay. I've heard of it. I've heard
by
of it before.
Robert Evans, the Behind the Bastards guy.
Yeah, you guys always talk about it.
Yeah. So after the Revolution is basically like after the Second American Revolution, where like the U.S. breaks into a bunch of warring states.
Yeah.
Or warring nations.
The Trumpos, the AOC feet worshippers, the gay frogs,
the Mormons.
And the Mormons. Those are the four genders.
It's basically Florida, Texas, the Mormons, and the Midwest. That's about it. And New York.
And then the Fire Nation attacked.
Don't talk about Mexico like that.
Anyway, we're going to transition now into a segment that we call Shot Caller, the part of the show where you, the audience, can pick the shot that we take. Today we're going to shoot expensive bourbon because fuck you. This episode is sponsored by Wild Turkey Bourbon. It's a Kentucky straight bourbon made by turkeys. And this is called Wild Turkey 101. I don't know what the difference is, but it was $10 more expensive than the regular bottle. I had this. I was at a local bar here the other night it was like 10 p.m. after work. I just went for a nightcap. I said, hey, do you have any, just give me a glass of bourbon, whatever. And they gave me this Wild Turkey, and I've never had it before, and I liked it. But that was just like the original version. This is like the 101 version. I don't know what that means, but it's aged for 101 years in turkey meat.
Dear God. Now I'm excited.
Yes?
I'm so excited.
Oh,
Shut that
sorry,
up.
I thought you were talking to me.
Shut up.
So cheers, and if you want to sponsor us,
send bourbon.
Send burbs.
Birds. Why do we just shoot nice bourbon?
We're funny.
That was lovely.
Could have been colder, but yeah, it's not too bad.
I don't think you're supposed to serve bourbon cold.
I know you're not. I like it cold.
That's fair. On the rocks.
I like 2 ice cubes.
I like one giant one.
Oh, I should get one of those giant ice cubes things. Anyway, I have if you were done ranting about your fucking fascist stuff, I have a...
I am not done being a fascist, but okay.
But we'll move on. Okay.
You go ahead.
I have a topic that I want to swing back to. Last time I brought this up. So I want to buy a house.
Yeah.
And last time I brought this up, you called me an idiot. And said, if you're going to buy a house not for a rental property, you are literally dumber than pond scum.
Yeah,
that's what you said.
I stand by that.
Okay. I have a new argument to come back at you at.
Okay.
Okay. So I've saved like a 5% down now.
Yeah.
Which in Manitoba there's a 5%. There's a first-time home buyers grant or whatever it is. It's a program.
Yeah, I think that's a Canadian thing.
You're saying not just Manitoban. It's all Canadian.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, it's CMHC.
Okay, so basically the Canadian government guarantees the money to the bank if you... It's a whole... It's like mortgage insurance. Mortgage insurance
Sort of.
isn't you getting insured; it's the bank getting insured.
Yeah,
okay.
right.
But because otherwise, what's the bank's incentive? It's the government. That's the program. Is the government being
okay,
like, we'll patch it up if anything gets fucked up. But instead of having to put 20% down on a house, you can put 5% down.
It's more like 10.
Whatever.
10 down to 5.
Okay, but so it's down to 5. So I have that, but I probably need 20 as a self-employed person. From everyone, whatever. From everyone I'm talking to.
Well, it's because your T4 is too low.
Yes. Yeah. Whatever. But anyway, but as I'm saving up money for a house, I'm starting to think more about it realistically. And I have this nagging voice in the back of my head. It's Tyler saying, "You're an idiot." Okay. But here is my new counter argument. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
If I had a house, I would have never been denied for business financing.
If you had equity in the house.
My friend owns a brewery, told me the bank let him leverage his house, the equity in his house, like 20 to 1.
Still,
for his business
but
loan.
you still need equity.
Yeah, but how fucking yeah, and I put 20% down, I get 20% equity.
No,
Hmm.
you're not putting 20% down. First of all, if you put 5% down, it'll be I think roughly the third year before you start building equity.
Sure.
Before you start.
Yeah, but I started
Because
my business like 5 years ago.
Yeah, but the first 3 years is basically taxes and CMHC fees, and then
Hello?
banking fees and realtor fees. That's what you're gonna pay for the first 3 years.
I'm not paying a retailer. I'm gonna buy it on Facebook Marketplace.
Sure, but either way, like the first 3 years,
Purple bricks.
the first 3 years is basically mortgage fees.
Sure, which makes it
Yeah,
of course. Yeah.
So if you're going to do the equity play, that's a 5 to 8 year play.
Yeah, but I'm not okay, I'm either gonna do 5 to 8 years now or in 5 to 8 years. You know what I mean? Like I have to do it
And
at some
the
point.
counter argument is in that same period of time, if you do the rental property play,
Mm-hmm.
at that 8-year mark, you could be on your 5th house and have equity in 5 properties that would be greater than you would have had in your single one. Like, because you're going to have the rental income from each. They're paying themselves off and then eventually paying each other off and then eventually paying off your personal home in the same period of time.
What do you think of? I buy a house, I live in one floor and I rent the other floor.
That's the same thing as what I'm saying.
So that's closer than.
Well, it's a yes and to what I'm saying.
Okay. So
So a house with a basement suite counts.
okay.
They call that, like, that falls into more of the category of house hacking, which is where you're looking to basically net zero your living expenses.
Yeah, because you net zero, but then every year you're paying off equity.
Right, you net zero on cash, but you build equity like you would either way.
Yeah.
So
But it's not costing you anything.
exactly. So that's what they call like house hacking. But some people they just stop at that.
Yeah.
You have a house with basement suite, or you have a duplex side by side. You live on one side, rent out
And
the
then
other.
once I pay off the equity, I kick the person out, and now I have a whole house for myself, essentially.
Or
Buy a second house.
you move out, rent out both, and own a bigger house.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or you just do it again until you have 5-6 houses, and then you have a giant house.
Have you considered that most of the stuff I buy, I don't actually make equity on? Sometimes some things I just want.
Yeah, fair. I'm just saying
just
you
want a
can get
house.
more of what you want if you take it. Like, this is also maybe a Canadian thing. You take advantage of that first home buyers program to get into your first rental property, because the other thing that, like, this is advice I got from a mortgage broker and a bank manager. So he knows the mortgage laws inside and out, and he's like financially free, virtually retired, living
I hate
living
the
in
phrase financially free.
financially free meaning
It's so overused.
meaning he goes on a trip every 60 days, lives in a $1.5 million house.
I go on a trip like 3 times a week. Usually by myself in my basement
Oh yeah.
with the benefit of drugs, but
No, yeah, it's
powerful
like
disassociatives.
every 30 to 60 days he's on a trip, $1.5 million house, and he's like early 30s, and he does it comfortably. Like, he's not stretching, he's not over leveraged, like, he makes comfortable income. He's doing this, spending money at that level, and also still on track to retire before he's 40. Like, and literally all he did was, he's like, I buy as many houses as the bank will allow me to, and I never sell one, even my personal home. So he had like a big personal home in like a bougie neighborhood, and he's like, I could have sold that house to buy this one. He's like, instead,
Put another renter in it.
I moved out, I got a renter for whatever, $500 over the cost of the mortgage. It was like a $3,000 a month rent payment. Apparently some people are in the market for that.
Okay.
So he's like, it was $3,000 a month to rent out that house. I rented it out to somebody, and that subsidizes my next house, because as soon as you get that lease, that basically writes off that mortgage payment to the bank.
Yeah.
And he's like, I got 11 other houses, now I just have 12, and I have this one. He's like, it is so much harder to buy a house than it is to sell one. like in the eyes of the bank. He's like, never sell a house if you don't have to.
Okay.
He's like, sure, liquidate
Mm-hmm.
a portfolio, buy more houses. That's a whole nother thing. But like cycling your inventory. But he's like, the number of houses, whatever. Like don't ever let go of that title if you don't have to. It was generally his advice. And obviously he's super simplifying it, but that advice carries because when you like acquiring an asset costs money, moving an asset costs money, selling an asset usually costs money. So why would you transfer something in or out of your possession if you don't have to? So buy a fucking house, whether it's a house hack with a, like, if you want to do the basement suite thing, if you want to live in a house that you own for your own, like, for
pleasure.
For the mental reward of it, I get it. I'm probably going to do something similar.
Well, because I feel like at this point in my life, if I can afford a mortgage, I'm dumb to just be paying rent.
Not necessarily.
I don't know about it.
It's because people think when you're paying a mortgage, you're just paying off your house. It's like, no, you bought a $200,000 house. You're going to pay $40,000 in interest. You're going to pay $10,000 in realtor fees. You're going to pay $4,000 a year in repair costs. You're going to pay $3,000 a year in taxes. Like that, when you add that all up, if you
might be better off just renting.
You're better off renting unless you own for more than 8 years per house you live in.
Which would be the plan.
Right. So if you're going to buy a house, don't move for 8 years, you'll be net positive.
Yeah, which would be my plan, I think.
Yeah, barring hot markets and your neighborhood popped up 30% in 2 years and you made a bunch of money in your house.
And then at that point you're essentially flipping it, right?
Right. Yeah, but you know, I like to keep on real estate news as much as I can.
Yeah.
And I guess the market has surged around in this area. It's
a lot.
Well, it's a lot, but it's also extremely stable.
People are paying $100,000 over asking right now.
That was in like spot price, general pricing. Let's say we're up 20% since the beginning of the pandemic.
Yeah, which is a lot when you're talking about $300,000 houses.
Well, that's an insane amount considering we've done 3% every year.
Yeah.
For like 25 years.
Yeah, we've basically done inflation the last...
Right.
Winnipeg is notoriously cheap housing for...
Right, but this, in general for Canada, let's say we've done about like 15-20% in the last 2 years. Bank of Canada is calling for... Not calling for, but like analysts talking about the Bank of Canada statements, like, because the Bank of Canada will never fucking say this. They'll, they have their language, but their language interpreted is the markets come up a lot, and obviously interest rates are insanely low. Like, you get a mortgage for like 2.2% or something stupid right now. There will need to be, in order to not crash or have hyperinflation or anything like that, there will need to be either a market correction of double digits, like 10 to 15% market correction, which means the prices dip that much from current. But I don't know if you're good at graphs. If you go up,
I am.
If you go up 15% and then down 15%, you're
at the same amount.
You're not. You're higher.
Oh no.
Than when you started.
Oh no.
Right.
Oh no. Oh no. Yeah, but it's not like real estate's getting any cheaper ever.
No, exactly.
It's not like you can wait till the best time. Like,
that's what I'm saying. If you go up 20, down 15, you're still up like 8.
Yes.
Or 9, whatever it is.
Whatever it is.
So there's a double-digit market correction coming, or interest rates are going to like 8%.
I think that's both is going to happen.
It's either or both.
Well,
you're going to get a correction, and then the interest rates, and then it'll stabilize.
Interest rates are going to go up. 100. There's no question in my mind. Like,
yeah. So basically, if you go to buy a house now, make sure you don't get wiped out by interest rates in 5 years when you refinance your house or when your mortgage expires. So I think you'll be fine because your income is going to go up every year for the next 5 years.
Every year for the next million years.
Sure, but we're talking about mortgages.
Right.
This is in China. We don't have million-year mortgages.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Wait till I get elected president.
I wish you were the Canadian president of China.
I am the Canadian president of China, and I'm going to make your mortgage 1 million years.
So for the Willows case, I would say take advantage of the super low interest rates.
Yeah.
Buy a house at 2.1%.
Yeah.
Do the basement suite or even just rent out rooms, just like the same living situation you have exactly right now.
Yeah.
But you own the house and you subsidize your mortgage, probably break even, maybe even make profit living in this fucking house. And then in the future, it can turn into just a full-on rental property and allow you to buy more houses, get more business leverage, whatever.
Yeah, because like every single... Sorry, finish.
Whatever you do, get rental income to get that equity faster, because I agree with the argument of home equity will be good for your business.
Yeah.
Get there faster with a renter.
Because we went to every bank and credit union in the province at some point to try and get more money when we were going out of business. And every single one started, I don't see your mortgage.
Right.
Which bank do you have a mortgage with? I don't see you have one with us.
Right.
Like every single time. And like
that's the only language they fucking speak.
And my friend who owns a brewery, when he, because like I was telling him about how hard it was to get startup capital, he's like, they didn't even ask twice. They just looked at my mortgage and like, gave me $500,000 in cash, and I said I don't have a mortgage. He's like, oh, like I could see that being difficult.
Here's the fun part. About rental properties, people. When you refinance a rental property, let's say your equity's been paid down, now you have $150,000, $200,000 of equity in the property. You refinance that property back up to 80% value. Let's say the market's gone up, interest rates go down, whatever. You're like, oh, this is a good spot rate. I'm going to refinance. You refinance up to 80%. You pull out, whatever money you pull out is tax-free.
Really?
Cash.
You don't pay capital gains on that?
No. Why would you? It's a loan. The bank gave you money.
Oh yeah, because you're not selling an asset. It's a lot. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
You're just.
It's a mortgage. It's another mortgage.
You're just borrowing more money at 2%, 3%.
And you're not going to get a better rate than that anywhere else.
So you basically you just pulled out 5 years of rent money, tax free,
and then you just pay it back to your own mortgage.
You can do whatever you want with it.
It's okay, EGOT. Everyone has 3 mortgages nowadays.
This is why real estate is fucked, because it's like the tax advantages of it is worth it, period.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
as long as you don't sell that asset, you're not going to be taxed on it, unless they implement like a wealth tax or whatever. But
that's a whole different argument.
Yeah. Even that's not likely, and if it is, it's still going to be lower than you would ever pay as an income.
And then we're also fucked in more ways than one, in more ways than just that, if that happens. But no, I think like I'm actively trying to build like a depth to my credit history and stuff and income, but then I also need to start building an asset portfolio, right?
Yeah, that'd be the best way to start.
But then I'm a scummy landlord.
Well, you can be a landlord and not be scummy.
Eat all landlords. You're exploiting someone for what should be a basic human right.
Well, once they make it a basic human right, I'll stop being a scummy landlord.
Don't talk to me, talk to the government. I don't make people human rights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, without landlords, this would be a much harder place to live.
This is now the landlord defending show.
Yeah, I guess so.
Welcome back to Landlords Anonymous.
Landlords Anon. How many times did you get verbally abused this week for existing?
7.
Yeah. Been there, done that. Fucking sick of it. But we'll do it again. 100%, 10.
Our lives, like, worst experience of my life, never do it again. But I will. We're doing it again.
100%.
Running a business, that's just how you are.
Yeah, it's like you see a lot of memes of this, like for golf too. It's like, what a fucking awful day. I hate this sport. I played so shitty. I'm miserable. What's tea time tomorrow?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So buy a house.
Buy a house.
Because mortgages are going to be... Like, do you understand the difference between a 2% and, like, even a 5% mortgage rate?
My parents bought their house at 18% in the 80s.
Yeah, but also cheap house.
Yeah, relatively, though. Like,
still. Like, the total cost of the mortgage compared to their income was still less than you'd pay today for the price of this house with the low interest rate.
Fair. I think you're probably right with that. I'd have to check them out.
I know I am. if my grandfather was making like, I don't know, he's like $5.60 an hour, and he paid off his mortgage in 7 years, even though it was 17%. Like, that's not the same as it is now.
That's fair.
It's not the price of the home versus the income. It's like everything else.
Yeah, relative purchasing power and how strong your dollar is in relative to.
Nothing was better than like Canada, US in like 70s, 80s. Like the buying power was just insane.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was ridiculous. Like you could have, let's say, minimum wage times 2 gets you a house, 2 cars, and a cabin. Retired by 47.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and then boomers ask.
Preposterous.
Then boomers ask like why our generation is so lazy. But
right, which is fantastic because like I'm thinking about getting into the luxury, short-term cabin rentals because I think the unwillingness and inability for our generation to own cabins when we get up to that age.
Is there going to be a surge in Airbnbs?
I think people are going to be way more motivated to pay an inflated rate
because they'll never get the money together to buy a cabin.
Or why would you bother?
I don't know, because you want it.
Well, it's not just the money, it's the work, it's the commitment, it's the time.
Sure.
Like, it makes way more sense to use a service like Airbnb because you're going to use that cabin, let's say, a grand total of 42 days out of the year.
Sure. Yeah.
And out of those 42 days, you take that price, let's say you pay Airbnb dollar value versus the price of a cabin amortized, like you're way off, you're worse off owning that cabin, especially if you have any ideas of like traveling to somewhere that's not your cabin.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, oh, I don't want to go to the cabin this summer, I want to spend it in Europe. You don't have that option when you own the cabin. You're fucking stuck with that thing. And you got to spend the time to keep it up and all that. So I think because of the way that travel has changed and the services that now exist, the way that Airbnb makes travel possible, the way that airlines make travel cheap, general, again, globalization of credit cards, currencies, language, technology, like traveling is way more enticing now than it used to be. Like, it's not scary to go to Thailand anymore. But, back in the 60s, going to Thailand is like, you might not come back because you might just get, like, stranded in some small town. And how are you going to get out? Like, because you don't, like, what do you go to the payphone, so you don't have the right coins to put in the machine, and who do you call, and what do you say when you get on the phone? Now you just pick up your fucking smartphone, you go to McDonald's, you connect to your Wi-Fi, you hit your travel agent, and they get you out. Like, it's a totally different world. And owning a cabin makes very little sense.
That's interesting. An interesting point.
But as an asset, it's phenomenal.
Why?
Because you can charge...
Oh, because you're talking about like renting it as an asset.
Right, yeah. Being a landlord.
Okay.
Being a landlord, owning it as an asset.
Because you can rent it at insane inflated prices because people are like, oh, we only do this once a year anyway, so we're going to pay $400, whatever.
Instead of making $300 over your mortgage, you can 4x your mortgage.
Yeah.
Granted, you need to be good at it, like have good experience, whatever. There's caveats to that.
Of course, it's not as simple as
everyone can be shitty at it if you really try hard enough. But yeah, I think it's a fantastic business, like really long-term business plan for all those reasons, and I think it's just gonna get more true over time. Like, think about Zennials. Are they gonna be mowing grass at West Hawk and slapping up new boards and fixing toilets and water? No, I lost you halfway through.
No, I'm already like...
It's like my eyes glazed over. I dozed off. Like, where's the concierge?
Yeah, well, I'm going to buy a cabin and make you do everything, essentially.
Yeah, and I'm going to charge you through the nose for it and laugh about it.
It's fine.
Exactly.
Okay. Hour and a half.
Buy real estate.
Do you
But not for yourself.
Do you have another topic, or do you want to just wind down?
I think... Well, I think we could probably just, at this point, transition into business tip of the day.
Yeah.
Which is...
Buy a house and rent it?
I think it's super relevant right now because I'm in a business that is really good for generating cash, and it can generate a lot of cash over a short period of time. it can be highly profitable and all those things, which is great, but it's very hard to build longevity and scale into this type of business.
Because you're in a contracting business where you do tiling and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's very, very based on your personal talents.
Right. It's very talent based.
Yeah.
So if I try to scale this, like me trying to transmute my talents into someone else is very difficult. But also just scaling anything that's like high end or premium, unless you're, if your product isn't actually
Premium wines.
Right. If your product isn't actually premium,
So not like me.
but you have the brand that people believe it's premium, like, oh, look at the
Grey Goose.
Now we have a Supreme crowbar. It's like that's not a phenomenal crowbar. It just says Supreme on it.
Yeah.
Like, sure, you can do that in certain markets, but like that's not really possible in my industry.
Mm-hmm.
So unless we pivot to building products where we get brand recognition for design, that's one thing. That would be a totally different business than exists today. So based on the contracting business that I have today, there's no real retirement or path that makes this any easier in 5 years than it is today.
So what's your business tip?
So my business tip is same as your strategy for buying a house. Buy a rental property first, acquire assets using the same means as other people have. So using my business instead of my job per se, acquire assets that can build wealth. So use the business to do this luxury cabin thing I'm kind of talking about, to acquire cabins, rent them out, Airbnb them, whatever, build wealth that way. So don't let the idea of like, oh, this business won't last forever stop you. Because as long as it generates a lot of cash, it's probably worth it. Or if it generates a lot of wealth but no cash, it's probably worth it. Or if it generates a big brand but no money, it's probably worth it.
Or if you're having fun.
Or if you're having a lot of fun but not making a lot of money, it's probably worth it. Like, don't look at things in such a way where this business has to check all the boxes where, like, it's got to be fun, it's got to make cash, it's got to build wealth, it's got to last forever. And if it doesn't do all those things, it's not worth my time.
You can do one thing.
Virtually nobody gets wealthy like that. Like, most billionaires get there through real estate.
Yeah,
Even
I think
if
it was like 50% or more.
It's more.
Okay.
Like, even if you're a tech billionaire, that tech person got there likely through real estate or through the stock market or through something else like that. Like, most billionaires get there through real estate because they use their cash, income, business to leverage, build an asset, and build their personal wealth. Like, that's just how it works. So it's a means to an end, not the end in and of itself, because the end in and of itself is your personal happiness and freedom, because we talked about that at the beginning of the episode. Cheerful nihilism, fucking nothing matters, do whatever you want, live how you want. How do you use what you're doing to jump ahead further instead of saying what I'm doing right now isn't enough? Because you probably have most of the formula already. So look at your options. Buy a house, Willows.
I will. We'll talk to you next week when I own a house.
Literally, it could happen that fast.
So my business tip of the day comes with a little story first to contextualize it. So I now own an award-winning winery.
Ooh.
We officially, one of our products won a double gold medal, which means it's the top
amount of gold.
The top of the category at the All Canadian Wine Championships 2021.
Regular gold is like 90th percentile. Double gold is first place.
First place, yeah. So we won a first place medal, double gold in the 2021 All Canadian Wine Championships. Thank you.
Clap them cheeks.
Thank you. And I will be milking that forever.
Literally.
I already changed the Twitter bio to award winning.
Can I tell a very short side story?
I guess.
You know PBR beer?
Yes.
Pabst Blue Ribbon?
Yeah.
You know what Blue Ribbon's from?
No.
The one time.
Or didn't they win it at like a county fair or something?
Yeah. There was like a big diorama like display competition where it was like him versus the Budweiser guy.
Yeah.
And they basically built like a 1/50th scale of like this crazy brewery with like a crystal dome. Like, I don't know, it was just this insane diorama, and they won the blue ribbon in this like contest. They spent, in today's dollars, like literally $1 million on their trade show booth.
Okay.
And they won the blue ribbon over
So
Budweiser.
they changed their name from Pabst to Pabst Blue Ribbon
Yeah.
because they won a award.
And they're still milking it.
Okay. I think I've heard that story before.
So you
but-
should.
Yeah.
You should absolutely.
So
Change. So what I'm saying, change your business name to Shrugging Doctor Double Gold.
Okay. All right. So, yeah. And so my business tip of the day. Now, this isn't the first award we've submitted to, but the other awards we didn't win. But we just kept doing it until we won.
Until something landed.
Because now I can say this forever. I can say we're a double gold award-winning winery. We're an award-winning winery. Fuck off. So my tip of the day is any industry probably has some sort of, you know, whether it's the Consumer Choice Awards, that's a big one.
I love that one.
Or, you know, a lot of industries have some sort of award system or legitimacy system. Like, maybe not Better Business Bureau because they're kind of a scam, but I guess so.
Forbes is a giant scam.
It's fine.
Okay, so local marketer that I'll tell you later who it is. So they're doing they do whatever marketing, sales, branding, promotion. They're selling spots on an article that they paid to write to Forbes, basically. So they're paying whatever $50,000 to get this article published on Forbes. Top 5 businesses to watch of 2021 is going to be the headline, published by Forbes, and they're selling those 5 spots
for obviously more than they paid on the
right, like $50,000, $100,000 a piece.
That's fucking genius.
So what's that worth to you?
How lot, much? Probably.
Right. Well, to some people nothing, but some people a lot, because what can you capitalize on that quote unquote clout?
Sure. I think I can, I'm going to start running ads with this fucking award.
Right.
Like, you know, I think I can capitalize on it a lot.
You paid nothing for
I
that
paid
award.
nothing. Well, just the cost of the entry was like $50 or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
So whatever the clout is, buy it.
Chase it. Well, yeah, my tip of the day is, basically seek out some sort of external credibility, because edification, right?
Real or not.
It doesn't matter. and
real is not relevant.
And fucking milk it for what it's worth, because if you have a good product but you're not getting in front of enough eyes, you need something to be able to steer people in your direction. And they see something, oh, this is award-winning, it must be good. They try it, it's good, but you need people to try it in the first place, right? So I think that's
it's like how like Dodge or like Ram trucks own Motor Trend, and they win the Motor Trend Truck of the Year every year. And like Ford owns another magazine that does another award, and then the Ford wins that award every year. And then GM has this other magazine that has this other award they win that one every year.
The Canadian Sleep Awards or whatever, like Buddy invented that, like
it's just like the Manitoba Winemakers Association Wine of the Year.
I was gonna.
Why haven't you held an AGM and given yourself an award yet? That's a missed opportunity.
Because people will see through that shit.
No, they won't.
Okay, I won an actual award now, so your point is whatever.
Do it again.
Okay.
Give yourself an award.
I'm gonna get
do like a photo shoot of like Photoshop you
shaking my own hand.
You with like a different hairstyle,
shaking my own hand.
Suit, giving yourself an award.
Yeah.
Shaking your own. Yeah. Do it. You have to do it.
Okay.
You must.
Perfect.
And if anyone notices, give them like a coupon.
You don't think people will notice me giving myself an award?
No.
Okay. Perfect.
People buy on headlines, not on research.
And I'm actually being interviewed tomorrow morning by the Winnipeg Metro about the award.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
and we were in the
Imagine sitting down with that reporter, and they're looking at, they haven't like actually looked at any of the content before they shut up. They'll be looking at it, they're like, wait a minute, this is you. You're like, yeah. So are we doing this or not? Are we doing this or not? It's like, let's see if anyone notices. It'd probably get right past the editor. It would fly. I think it'd be amazing.
Or you can do it legitimately like I did, and then
No.
okay,
No.
don't do it legitimately. That's Tyler's tip.
No, make your own association. Give yourself an award. Be like real estate in Winnipeg, and
fine.
God, they have another. They have another.
We're almost done. Let's get off and then talk about it.
I want to crash a party.
Thank you for listening to Alcohol Beyond This Point
Podcast.
It's Alcohol Beyond This Point on Instagram, Alcohol Beyond This Point podcast on Facebook. Thank you for listening. We really appreciate it. We're happy to be back. We're recording every week again now.
Spin a slice, buy a
it's
house.
It's my busy season, so I'm a little bit behind on the editing, but I'm trying to get last week's episode up as soon as like next week's is recorded. Is kind of what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So thanks for your patience. Thanks for listening. My name is Willows. This is you didn't even say your name at the beginning of the podcast because I just said I'm Willows and you said I'm not Willows.
Well, I'm still not Willows, but I'm now Tyler Bergen of the Memorial Lounge.
Of Memorial Lounge fame.
Yeah, at Tyler_the_builder or surface.studio on Instagram.
I'm also nearly 100% certain your Instagram is Tyler_the_builder.
Oh, it might be.
Because we always say Tyler_the_builder, but then one time I was tagging you and I typed Tyler and I couldn't find you. I'm pretty sure you always...
that's very possible.
You always say the
I hate underscores.
The underscram?
Why in the fuck? Yeah. Okay. Anyways, it's not like it matters.
Vote Willows on everything. VOTEWILOWS. Thank you for
Thanks for your earballs and the face holes.
Okay.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Alcohol Beyond This Point podcast.
This isn't two podcasters talking business. This is two business guys trying to podcast.